Hello, I'm here with Courtney O-Brien. Courtney, welcome back. Martinez, now school board member. Last time you were, I think you were you running or had you just been elected?
I think I had just been elected. So yeah,
and
so now I have a couple of meetings under my belt.
Now you're in the mix. So thank you for coming back and joining me. And you've got some pretty exciting news in your district that you've made progress with your bargaining units and going to be coming back. Before we get to that, would you mind sharing? Martinez is a smaller district than Mount Diablo, where I'm located, but similar demographics. Would you mind sharing a little bit about the district, like in terms of population and what the mix looks like?
Sure. So we have about, I don't have all the numbers memorized, but we have about 4,000 students across the district, and we have about 30% Latinx students. The large majority of the rest of the students is white. I believe we have less than 3% African-American students. We do have almost 30% of students are also qualify for low income. So the socioeconomics, I don't have those numbers completely memorized, but I do think that that's about right.
Yep.
We have one high school, a continuation school, a adult school, and then we have one junior high and 3 elementary schools. So we are one of the smaller districts in the area.
Yeah, one of the smaller districts. And I think, one, that you are a unified school district, so you're not just K through 6, and 2, the fact that what we've been seeing, at first, the first schools to go back were more affluent, whiter school districts. Those were the first ones to go, and yours with a more diverse mix. So tell us what's happening and where you're at in the process of returning students to schools.
Sure. So we actually are up to 5th grade. Actually, let me go back. Our K through 2 will return on Thursday, so March 11th. The students that elected hybrid, and we have actually just under half of the students elected for hybrid. So just over half will stay in distance learning. And then the following week, I believe we have 3rd and 4th grade going back on Monday, whatever that Monday, the 15th, I think, and 5th grade back on March 16th for hybrid. And then our target date for the secondary, so the 6th through 12 to start hybrid, is March 29th. So, if everything goes well, supposedly we're going to be in the red tier by next week. So we should be able to start back on March 29th for the secondary students.
Well, congratulations. And so you're taking a phased in approach, which I think makes a lot of sense. And what does the hybrid, just kind of in high level terms, what does the hybrid level look like for a student in Martinez?
Sure. So we went with an AM PM schedule. So I believe at least I know what the middle school schedule looks like because I have an 8th grader. So, but I believe all of the schools is similar. So the middle school schedule, the AM students will be in school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8:30 to, I think it's 10:55. So about 2.5 hours. Then the PM students will be there, I believe it's 2:15 to 2:35. So, or sorry, 12:15 to 2:35. So about 2.5 hours. And then everybody will be at home on Wednesdays. So, and Wednesdays, I think, is going to be a mix of asynchronous learning and small groups, office hours, that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're going to have like a quarter of the overall students back at one time. And that allows for the social distancing because you're splitting, you do an AM and a PM.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha. So one of the big issues is around working with the teachers union. And it sounds like, I think Martinez, around the same time that Mount Diablo, when I was getting ready to leave the board, Mount Diablo and Martinez both passed plans to come back in January. And those both got delayed because the state shelter in order, the fact that we saw the big spike over November, December. And both of us were still negotiating with our unions. Now in Mount Diablo, we have 7. I think in Martinez, you only have 2. You have your teachers and you're classified. But tell us a little bit, like, so you, presuming you've reached agreements with both of those, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I think it just turned out to be a much longer process than some folks anticipated.
Right.
But, I felt like both the district bargaining team and the union bargaining teams bargained in good faith. Everybody came to the table. There was a lot of back and forth, which I think is to be expected when it's just such a big decision. And It's also, I keep reminding people this is everyone's first pandemic. So, no one has done this before.
Yeah. There's not a playbook for this.
Exactly. So, I also feel like maybe because I know parents were pretty frustrated that we weren't ready to go back, whatever day that we got under 25 cases, like, okay, let's go. We're not that far behind. We're like 2 or 3 weeks behind that. But I know that at least I got the sense that the state, the governor was putting forth all these proposals that people were trying to, well, can we do this? Can we do the deadline so we get the extra money? And so it was also like kind of juggling a lot of different balls in the air at the same time. But I do feel like, I'm happy with the agreements that were reached. And I feel like the 2 unions are happy with it too. Both unions ratified their agreements. And, most of what I hear is that people are happy to be going back to class and seeing their kids in person. So,
yeah. No, I think a lot of employees, both teachers and classified staff are excited to get the opportunity to see kids again in person. And in your district, with the teachers, what were some of the big issues and where did you kind of land on those? What were the major pieces of the agreement?
Yeah, I just think, so one of the big ones I think is just really high level, that they wanted to just make sure that oversight would be there if there was problems with safety, something wasn't being followed the way the safety guidelines said, who will we talk to, who will fix it? So that I think was one, which is totally understandable.
Sure.
They just wanted to make sure that they were going to be safe and that the students would be safe, their families. And that's the other thing I keep trying to remind people is it's not just about the teachers. They all have to go home at the end of the day to whoever their family is and vulnerable. And so it affects everybody in the community, right?
Right.
The other one was we ended up agreeing that employees would have 10 extra sick days if they were diagnosed with COVID and had to stay home or quarantine. And of course there are some, like they can't be like out partying in Cancun and catch COVID and then come back to school and think they're going to get the extra sick time. It has to actually be, that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And then the other one is that if we do get back to where we are at 20 cases per 100,000, which would have us, the state and the county said you can't even go back to school if you're above 25.
Right.
We bargained that if we went above 20 again, that everyone would go back to distance learning.
Okay. So some safeguards built in, and, I think it makes sense to provide extra sick time. And, despite the myths, I don't think many teachers have been teaching from Cancun or Hawaii. So that one makes sense.
Right, exactly.
Having the extra sick days built in for them, and then a metric around, hey, if there is a resurgence, that we may return to distance learning, which I think gives the whole community an incentive to keep doing the right things. And, let's get people vaccinated. Let's keep wearing masks. Let's keep socially distancing as we, we're on a good path right now, but let's keep that going. Okay. Well,
exactly. Yeah. And, I think there are going to be the people that, because, the state and the county guidelines say that once you're back in hybrid, even if cases go back up, you don't have to go back to distance learning. So I'm sure there are going to be the people that are going to say, well, why did you bargain that? That's not, but you know, bargaining is all about give and take, and you know, nothing that I think is in our agreements is unreasonable. And, you know, hopefully everybody does their part as a community, and we keep moving forward instead of backward.
Yeah, I think the best negotiations end in a win-win. If one side won it, then it doesn't work very well.
What we say as attorneys, because that's my day job, we say if when you go to mediation and you reach an agreement, everybody leaves unhappy.
Right.
So
that's success. That's how you measure success in negotiations. Yep. And where are you? Is there any plan to possibly have a larger return this school year, or is that for the fall, or is that to be determined?
You know, it's really to be determined. I would be surprised if there was a larger return this year, just because our school year is over at the end of May. So
we're running out of time.
Really, yeah, there's only about 2.5 months left of the school year anyway. So, and I also feel like, you know, it's going to be a big change for a lot of the kids. So I don't see a point in putting another change on top. I do really hope that we can all be back full time in the fall, that, you know, that we don't have to do a hybrid, that we can do 5 days a week, the full day. But a lot of that's just going to depend on where the numbers are and what the county and the state health guidelines are. Yep.
And so you haven't made a determination. I mean, certainly I think it makes sense. You know, my kids are going to have to remember how to put clothes on and not just wear pajamas again, and, you know, all those good things. And so it sounds like, you know, keep going with what you've got in place for the spring, and then a hoped for full return, not hybrid. And I would imagine, I think most districts are looking at, you know, there are going to be medically vulnerable students and families, and that you would still have some sort of distance learning component for them. But the hope is to have everyone who wants it to have close to a much closer to full return in the fall. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yes, that's my understanding. I know that's what I want. As far as I know, that's what my fellow board members want. And I'm sure that's what most of our community members want also.
Yeah. Well, Courtney, I just want to say thanks so much for taking a little time on a Sunday evening to give us some updates. And so you've got a board meeting tomorrow, so it'll probably be a late night for you, right?
It will be. Our board meeting tomorrow night. So we actually had a special meeting on Wednesday morning to approve the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding with our teachers union. And then tomorrow night we'll vote whether we're going to approve the other union, the CSEA MOU. So that's on the agenda. And then our interim financial report, which is required by the state, which is always a fun topic. So yeah, it'll probably be a long night.
The good news is that we're starting to 8, 9, 10 months ago, I think every school board member was incredibly concerned about what the budget was going to look like. And we heard about the potential catastrophic impacts, but it actually seems like from a financial standpoint, California schools are in better shape than I think most of us hoped 10 months ago, 11 months ago.
Yeah.
Although not out of the woods.
Right. Well, and at least for the next couple of years, we in Martinez, because we're such a small district, we are always really short on money. And I actually learned a couple of weeks ago that we are actually the district with the lowest per pupil funding of any district in the Bay Area. So, we've had a lot of activism in the last couple of weeks in the community around return to school. And I would never be somebody that would be against activism and peaceful protesting. And I hope that when we are actually all back in school, that some of those folks will turn their attention to topics like school funding, because we really do need to do a better job for all of our students.
Yeah. Facilities and school funding. It's, this didn't just happen because of the pandemic, and there's going to be work to keep being done. So, well, thank you so much. It was great seeing you again, and I appreciate you taking a little bit of time. Good luck tomorrow, and congratulations.
Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated.